So, just kind of felt like recording something, and again, it's one of those ones that I don't know that I have a specific topic in mind. I just was feeling kind of depressed. Usually, I don't feel depressed, which might sound surprising. Usually, I'm just kind of chilling, but I don't know. I had a bit to drink. Usually, that makes me happy, but sometimes it makes me feel kind of down. And what's really bothering me is actually just I went out to dinner with a cousin of mine, a step cousin, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of have a crush on her. I know that might sound weird, but like I said, she's my step cousin. We're not biologically related at all, and I didn't even grow up with her or anything. Apparently, she remembers meeting me when I was younger once. I was down visiting my grandparents, and her and her family came down at the same time, and they just saw me in the garage passingly, and she said hi to me or something. I don't remember that. I just remember meeting her for the first time a couple years ago at this 4th of July family get together. And so, there's no like biological relation there. So, according to the fucking lizard part of my brain, the caveman part of my brain that controls attraction, there's no like boundary there. It's just she's just some random girl. Whereas I have another cousin who is around my age who's actually a biological cousin, and I could never imagine having any attraction toward her or anything. So whatever that is, if it's just like some biological barrier or if it's because I knew her when we were both kids, that's just not there with this cousin, the step cousin. I should make sure I reiterate. And so I went out to dinner with her, and it's funny. I think my whole family thinks it was a date because my dad kept trying to give me advice about girls. And it was funny. He was he like, he was trying to tell me that it was a good thing that I was 27 and had no experience. He was saying, I'd give anything to be in your shoes because if you told a girl that you didn't, because if you told a girl that you had never had any feelings for any girl before, but you had feelings for her, she would be like swept off her feet. And I was like, that's actually not a bad angle. It's just that would work for chat. That would work for a good looking guy where that would be believable. Whereas with me, it's obvious that I just am kind of a loser. And it's just crazy how the cope comes back so strong because before going to dinner with her, I was telling myself, I'm not gonna try anymore with women. I don't care anymore. I'd go to dinner with a male cousin too. It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm attracted to her. And then, I'm at dinner and it's kind of obvious that it is because I'm attracted to her. I mean, I'd go get food with a male cousin too, just to kind of get to know that their whole family, because I don't really know her family well. I just know my step grandfather. I don't really know her actual family or his actual family that well, which she's part of. And so I would have went anyway, I think, because I was up in New York anyway for a doctor's appointment. And that's where she lives, and I also saw my dad up there. I should have added that detail, but it just I knew after. It's just crazy how the unconscious works because I was telling myself it has nothing to do, like I would have done it anyway. I'm not gonna try with women, and then I go to the dinner and I'm nervous as hell. I took a couple shots of liquor beforehand to calm my nerves, and I'm doing the thing I used to do on like the two dates that I've ever been on. No, I've been on 3 dates now, but one was a Tinder date where I'm way too exuberant and acting kind of too confident, which sounds like I'm trying to humble brag or something, but there is such a thing as it's almost performative, like a car salesman or something, just trying too hard to be funny, too hard to be confident, and I'm just cringing after. And you know what's funny? This is really embarrassing. I think it's called gleeking. Like if you ever like, you ever have like spit just randomly fly out of your mouth. That happened when I was sitting right across from her. And I'm like, that never happens. Of course it fucking happens when I'm sitting across from a girl that I like, you know. I don't think she noticed, but I was there was a second where I wasn't really I kind of reacted like I tried to play it off like what the fuck was that, you know, like giving it a face like that to add some levity to it. And then she kind of reacted with a similar face, but I could tell she was just reacting to the fact that I made a face. And I was like, do I acknowledge that or do I hope she just didn't notice it and doesn't know why I made that face? Um and so I just I just didn't say anything, but that was embarrassing. And I was like, of course, because I remember I went on this Tinder date one time and this girl, I remember when she walked in, I could tell she looked really disappointed in how I looked compared to my Tinder pictures. I mean, for one, I had hair in my Tinder pictures, and in real life, I was bald. But I had just lost my hair, well, like shaved it off, not too, not too long prior to the date. So my excuse was like, well, they're not old pictures, even though that was clearly cope. And I remember I was trying to eat this soup and I like laughed as I laughed at something she said as I was taking the spoon up to my face and then I like blew soup from the spoon onto the table. And I'm just like, why does this shit always happen? It's like I'm cursed with just awkwardness where it's not even only my behavior, but it's just things that happen. But that wasn't that big of a deal. But more so just it's just weird, you know? Like my personality was changing a bit. I feel like my personality was like I said, I was being a little too like car salesman-y. I don't know if you've ever seen that episode of Rick and Morty where they it's actually my favorite episode. They go into this detoxifying chamber and the worst parts of their personalities are removed from them and put into another dimension. And so Rick becomes super nice in the real world, and in this other dimension, it's just his narcissistic side. And Morty's negative side that is detoxified is his cowardice, and he just is like this quivering pussy in the other world. But in the real world, he's super confident, and the whole episode's theme is kind of like there's even good in the bad, you know, like there's something necessary in the bad because Rick kind of becomes this overly laid back guy who doesn't care about anything, and then Morty becomes essentially a sociopath who just is like has way too big of an ego, is never listening to other people because he's way too confident in himself. And there's this scene where he's at a date with his, I think her name's Summer, or maybe that's his sister, but like wherever that girl was who he had a crush on in high school, like his main love interest, he's on a date with her finally, and he's so trying so hard to be confident. And or I mean, he's not, I guess in the episode he's not trying, he just is like so overly confident, and he's just kind of going off talking about his own thing, and he doesn't notice that she's kind of disgusted by him. And I feel like that's what I worry I came across as. Where it wasn't, because like she clearly had a good time. You know, she was laughing a lot. The conversation was engaging, but I just worried that maybe I came across as too. It's just not really myself, you know. But it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because I feel like my actual self is kind of boring or just not suitable for a group atmosphere or for a date. I mean, that wasn't really a date. I don't know. But I thought of it as a date in the moment, even though it wasn't. To the point where even now, when I'm I'm catching myself refer to it as a date when really it was just dinner with my step cousin. And I know that's weird, but it is what it is. I don't know. And even my grandmother seemed to think it was a date because I talked to her today and she was like, "How?" She had like a Freudian slip. She went, "So, how was your date yesterday? I mean, sorry, how was your day yesterday?" And that she doesn't have a sense of humor like that to where that would be a joke she would make. That was genuinely she had the idea of a date on her mind and then accidentally said date instead of day. Hold on, I need some water. But yeah, and my dad was giving me all this advice and shit, and I'm just like, it's too late for that. And he asked me if I was gay. He's done that before. He even in asking, he just referenced when he said it before. He was like, "Do you remember when I told you if you were gay, I wouldn't care?" And I was like, "I'm not fucking gay." Like that's so I get it, but that's so dumb. I mean, I get it in the sense that someone might want to keep it a secret, and I am kind of an effeminate guy. I feel like I have a bit of an effeminate sounding voice, or I have like a slightly gay sounding voice that annoys me. I sit with my legs crossed. I don't know, like I'm in a fucking field of work that's female dominated, social work, and I was a psychology major. I don't like sports very much, which he probably would think is a sign of gayness. But I told him, I said, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't be afraid to say it. And if I was gay, I would, like, gay guys are more promiscuous. If I was gay, I would be with a guy. It's just, I'm interested in women, but, well, one, I'm interested, but I'm not really interested enough to try very hard. Part of it is me, for sure. But also, they're not very interested in me. And, sometimes I'll, like, start to cope and I'll wonder, how much could I actually be a normie if I really tried? I always have that cope, and it's crazy. No matter how many failures I have, I come back to that cope because I'll remember the couple times where things started to look differently for a second. Like this girl in school who I thought was cute went to get coffee with me, kind of under the pretense of studying together, but I feel like no one ever like if a guy invites a girl to study at a cafe, I feel like they kind of know what's up. But I mean, that went okay. But then I invited her to something else. I asked if she wanted to go get dinner, and I think she said she was willing to. I think she said she would, but um, I mean, willing to. She didn't say it like that. That sounds kind of weird. I think she said she wanted to, but then I tried texting her about it later, and she didn't respond. Or no, I think she just said she was busy, and then I took that as a no, and so I never tried again. And looking back, I'm like, maybe I should have tried again, but I've been in similar situations where I did try when something similar was said to me, and then I just got ghosted or just flat out rejected. And, I remember this one girl came up to me randomly after a statistics class, and she was like, "You seem really smart. Like, do you ever want to study together?" And I never get approached like this ever. And so I was so just autistic and just not used to this that I took her seriously. And I went, I mean, why would you think I'm smart? I don't really talk or anything in class. And she kind of got taken aback and she went, well, I mean, I don't know, like you just look like you know your stuff. And I was like, I don't know what would give you that impression. And she was just like, well, I don't know. You just look kind of smart if you ever want to get together and study. And then I finally realized what she was doing, but I wasn't attracted to her. And so I was just like, well, I said sure, and I took her number. Then I ghosted her like Chad. I felt bad because I'm like, I get it. I've had this happen to me plenty of times. But I'll look back at situations like that and I'll be like, maybe it's not so bad, but there's just too many times and I haven't tried. I haven't tried much in my adult life at all with women, but there's just been too many times where I have tried and it hasn't worked. And just, like, I mean, I shouldn't say I haven't tried at all. I've tried in moments, but I don't try the way other guys do, where it's they eat, sleep, and breathe trying to get with women. It's just if I talk to a girl at work or something and I think she's kind of cute, I'll just like try to test the waters, but I always get rejected. And today, that step cousin of mine, she sent me a picture she took of us because at the end of dinner she took a selfie, and she sent me that picture, and I was just looking at it and I was like, holy fuck. Like, it should be illegal for a girl that pretty to be taking a picture with a guy like me. I mean, and I'm not even trying to sound too like needlessly negative about it, but I mean, I just, especially in that picture, I looked so fucking bad. I looked so fucking ugly. I was like, if she shows that to any of her friends, they're gonna laugh when they see it. I mean, I just look like shit, you know? But it's also just how I look. I mean, in order to not look like that, I would have to take it at like a special angle or something, and I'd still pretty much look like that, but it was just especially bad because, I'm just kind of sitting across from her at the table and I kind of wasn't ready for it. So I only like half smiled. I looked like that meme, that meme of that guy who's getting like held hostage by his girlfriend. It's that video, that TikTok where the girl's like, "Do you have the best girlfriend ever?" And he's like, "Yes, honey, can we eat now?" And there's that picture of him looking all nervous. I feel like I kind of looked like that, except that guy looked way better than me. I looked like that, but myself, my face. And so I was just embarrassed. I cringed when she sent it to me. And I was just like, it's just, there's no hope. Like, there's really no hope. For a second, I was coping about it, especially afterward when I went to my dad's, because I was all excited from it and I was a little buzzed. And, he's going like, "Oh, like, she probably likes you." And he's such a boomer. And also, just because he's my dad, he doesn't see that I'm so unattractive. And he's just like, "Oh, I'm sure." He's like, he's always said, like, "You and your sister, you have opposite traits. I could have just merged the two of you, and then you'd be like perfect, because she's always going out talking to all these random guys, and I'm just like, you gotta stop rushing into a relationship." And he's like, "But you could be a little more aggressive when you like a girl and try a little harder." And he was like, "You probably in college had upteenth amount of opportunities that you just completely didn't even realize they liked you." And I'm like, dude, this is not the 80s. You have no idea. Okay, first of all, like, my dad when he was younger looked way better than I do now. I was going to say I've seen pictures of him when he was younger. Pictures of him when I was younger and he was, in his 40s. I'm like, what the fuck happened with me? Same with my mom. My mom was pretty. And I'm like, how the fuck did you two make me? But I've seen the opposite happen. I've seen, like, girls have two parents that aren't very good looking who are good looking themselves. You should look up Leonardo DiCaprio's parents. They're both chopped as fuck, and then they gave birth to fucking DiCaprio. So genetics are crazy. Genetics are just a weird thing. But yeah, he thinks I'm just like him. He's told me, he has this like simplistic idea of blood where he's like, "You have my blood, so anything you go through, I promise you I've been through too." And so he thinks that I'm gonna be like he was in college and in his 20s, where he was pretty decent looking guy, and it's also the fucking 80s or the early 90s, so there's no Tinder, there's not this crazy hypergamy going on, and so it's just easy back then. But I'm like, it's just not the same now. And yeah, I just felt kind of, I felt annoyed at myself today because of how much I was coping yesterday. How I thought, maybe something could actually work out. Maybe I could just be a normie if it was just my personality. Maybe I do just need a better personality, because there are ugly guys who end up pulling off being normal, but I just don't think that's me. I think I look too bad and I'm just too autistic. I mean, I was looking back at things I said during this dinner and being like, why did I say that? That was so cringe. Like, I probably can't think of an example. Um, I don't know. I have such a terrible fucking memory. I have a terrible recall memory where it's hard for me to remember something off the top of my head, but then if I get reminded of it, I'll remember every detail. But initially grabbing that memory is hard. So I don't know if I can think of like, I wish I could think of a good example, but also my brain has just not been working the last couple of days. Even yesterday, when I was driving back up to New York, like I said, I was going for a doctor's appointment for a physical because it takes forever to find a new doctor. Um, so it's more convenient for me time wise to just take a day off work, drive up there, see my dad, and then spend the day and just go there. But I actually might try to find a new doctor because this doctor, I asked him. So I was prescribed propanolol, which is a beta blocker. It essentially just slows your heart rate down a bit and makes your body stop producing as much adrenaline, and it can help with the physical symptoms of anxiety. And I asked him if I could try clonidine, which is also a beta blocker, but it works on the central nervous system, so it's supposed to be better for anxiety. And so I just asked him, I was like, I'm already prescribed something similar. Would you mind if I tried clonidine? And this fucking guy turns around and right in front of me Googles clonidine and then clicks on the first thing and then just kind of quickly skims through the page on some .com website and then turns back around and goes, yeah, whatever, I don't really have a problem with that. You can try it. And I'm like, and I even had to tell him because also my blood pressure was high when I first went in. And I said, I mean, clonidine doesn't really treat blood pressure. And he goes, it does. And I didn't say anything because he's the expert and you're never allowed to question doctors. Oh, they hate it so much if you have the ability to fucking read on your own. If you also can Google something and read it a little more in detail than a 20-second cursory read of it, they get so mad because they're the one with the fucking doctorate. So I didn't say this, but I'm like, I looked it up and it's not a first line treatment for blood pressure because it's not long lasting enough on your blood pressure. But instead, I am gonna probably find a new doctor because that was ridiculous. Also, he was really fat, and I don't trust a fat doctor. That's just like you're very unhealthy. I know this is like woman logic, but it's like you're very unhealthy. So how are you going to know? How are you going to tell me what is and isn't healthy? Even though that makes no sense because you can be fat and still know what is and isn't healthy. But it gave me a weird impression. Also, just because he was so lazy, it seemed he didn't really do anything. He just kind of like checked my heart, checked my lungs, checked my stomach. That was it. And I was kind of glad because I don't like when they fucking, feel around, like checking for hernias and shit. I don't like that. So I'm kind of glad he didn't. But I was still like, as a doctor, that's kind of weird. You were just so lazy and you wouldn't really answer any questions or anything really. And the Googling. So I'll probably just find a new doctor. But this is the future with ChatGPT, getting people through college and everything, and mass immigration, lowering the standards, affirmative action. This is good. I mean, he was a white guy, but still, this is just the type of thing that's going to be the norm. We're heading into idiocracy. But anyway, back to my dinner with my step cousin. I don't want to make it sound like it was super awkward. It was good. It was overall good. And afterward, she was like, yeah, this was a lot of fun. And she sounded like she meant it. And she was like, are you coming up again soon? Like, do you have any doctor's appointments up here soon? And I was like, I mean, no, but I can make some. I thought that line was pretty good. But, but that's the thing. It's like, I can never tell. In one way that I'm autistic, among many other ways, is that I do take people literally, and when someone tells me like, "Oh, I had a really good time," like, "You coming up again soon?" I don't know if they're serious or not. I initially take them very seriously, and I'm like, "Wow, like they really liked hanging out with me." And then later, I go, "Wait, hold on, were they just being nice? Like, was she just being polite? Was that just the polite thing to say?" But yeah, I don't. Oh yeah, one of the awkward things that I said was she was talking about like her actual grandfather, my step grandfather, and she was like, she referred to him as my grandfather, like her exact quote. She was like, "Yeah, so, when I was down there talking to my grandfather," and then she caught herself saying that and went, "And don't get bothered when I say my grandfather, it's just kind of a habit." And I was like, I mean, it is literally true. Like, he is your grandfather. Like, I'm not related to him. He is just my step grandfather. Like, we're not really related. And after it, I was like, why did I didn't need to say that. But then maybe I'm nitpicking. I don't fucking know. See, that's the thing. It's like, it's bad enough that I'm kind of like a social failure, but also I don't really know exactly when I fuck up. Because sometimes I'll say something, like, say I'm talking to someone who's on the phone and they're relaying what I'm saying to the person on the phone. This might happen with my grandfather if he's talking to my aunt or something. When someone else repeats what I just said out loud, I'm like, ooh, like that was weird. Why did I say it like that? But I don't notice immediately. And also, there's times where I'm like, was that awkward? Was that a weird thing to say? Or am I overthinking it? And a lot of times people would say, like, oh, you're overthinking it. It's not that bad. But then my results are complete social failure. And it is in large part my looks, but it can't all be my looks because, like I said, there's ugly guys who do end up becoming. It's got a weird pain in my chest. Uh, there are ugly guys who do end up, having friends, having girlfriends. And I know people say, oh, the exception doesn't make the rule, but it's common enough to where I think it isn't all looks. It's a huge, looks are a massive part of it and maybe the most important part, but it's not all looks. And, but yeah, and also like, I have thought before too, I don't know if I'd even like being in a relationship because I mean, so many relationships I've seen have just ended up horrible. Like, I mean, my parents, like my dad, he got divorced from my mom, and it's like been 30 years, and well, no, it's not 30 years, but 25 years maybe. And it's all he fucking talks about. He just constantly, anytime I go see him, I don't even have to say anything, and he'll just go like, and your mom. Oh, I'm gonna pour this water. I'm thirsty again. I'm like, your mom did this, and when your mom said that, and it's funny because he'll be like, I don't even care anymore. It's all in the past. But your mom like did this, and then he'll go on for another 30 minutes. And it's crazy because my mom doesn't even talk about him. It's usually, I feel like that's common. It's usually the guy, and like she cheated on him, and apparently more than once. So I feel like the women usually just stop giving a fuck. Like they could care less about their ex husband far even before they get divorced. But the guy is just so heartbroken forever that he'll never get over it. I think that's pretty common. And then, my mom and my stepdad, terrible relationship. I'm shocked they never got divorced. They should have. And, my dad and my stepmom, I always thought their relationship was weird because they kind of never talk. They have a duplex, and my dad stays at the bottom apartment and she stays at the top. And I mean, they hang out. It's not like there's no, it's not like the doors closed. Like I don't even know if they have doors on each part anymore because he used to rent the bottom part out and everyone just lived at the top. But he kind of made it one house now. But it's still the same layout on each floor, and she'll so it's like there's no it's open, you know, like he could easily see her upstairs from how he like remodeled the whole thing, how he changed the staircase and like talk to her from downstairs, but still they kind of stick to themselves. They don't seem very lovey. The way he proposed to her, he was just talking to her like in the living room one day, and he just asked like, you want to get married? It's not a very loving relationship, but also I look at that and I go, maybe that's what's needed, because so many other relationships don't work out. But even with her, I don't know if she's happy with her life. And then even with my step cousin, I thought when I met her parents, I thought her parents were like, I thought it was a picture perfect family. Her parents got along so well. They were both super nice. And then she's telling me that they fight all the time and it's horrible. And I'm just like, is this what life is? Is it just you get in a relationship because other people do it and because it's the thing to do and you're so afraid of being alone, and then you just end up hating this person who you used to love, and then you're just trapped and miserable? Like, I don't think human beings are meant for monogamy, at least long term. I do think that monogamy is good for raising kids, because kids who grow up without fathers, I remember getting in a debate with someone in my comments one time where he was saying like, oh, the man shouldn't even have to have anything to do with raising the children. The women should all raise the children. That's how it used to be. The men would have multiple wives and the women would all raise the children. And I was like, if you look at any crime statistics, single fatherhood is a massive part of it. Like, it's a massive factor in violent crime. And even at my work, I see these people who are homeless, who are severely mentally ill, who are on drugs, and it's like without fail, if somebody tells me they have no relationship or a bad relationship with their father, man or woman, it's like their life is in shambles compared to the people who say they have a good relationship with their father. And I know how their life is before I know, because one of the questions I have to ask is how's your relationship with your family, and so I know what their life is like before I ask that question. And I've noticed that the people who come in and their life is fucking awful, they, like, it's not every single person with a terrible life has a bad relationship with their father, but everyone who has a bad relationship with their father is one of the people who came in and I was like, holy shit, this is bad. Whereas some people come in because they're court ordered and they're just like, they're completely put together, it's not that big of a deal. And then they tell me, oh yeah, I have a great relationship with my dad. So I think a father is very important. So a marriage is very good for children generally. Of course, some marriages aren't, but generally speaking, it's better than having a single mother or a single father, because kids obviously need their mothers. And so I think that is important for raising kids, but I think after your kids are raised, maybe you shouldn't have to stay together, or at the very least, like, don't spend so much time together. I think that couples feel this need to spend all their time together because they're a couple, and there's something wrong if they don't want to. But you just end up hating each other. I've seen that so many times. Like, the majority of couples I see, especially if they're married because they're locked in, but even ones that aren't married, they end up just growing to fucking hate each other. And I think it's because they don't spend enough time away. Like, spend a fucking month away from your boyfriend or girlfriend. Go and, like, don't cheat, but go and do some shit for most of the day on your own, and then just get back to them, But it just makes me think, like, I don't even know if I want a relationship, because it just seems like they almost never end up good. And especially for someone like me, who I love my alone time so much, I just don't know if I would even like it. I feel like at first I probably would, but then eventually I just go, I want to be by myself more. I would hate having to have someone around constantly. And just, I'm a private person, which might seem surprising, but I don't like sharing a lot. Like my step cousin, when I was at dinner with her, I told her I like writing, and I felt insecure about even telling her what my story's about. I kind of just gave her a short answer. It was another thing that made me cringe that I said. I was like, oh, it's like two families fighting against each other. It's like Game of Thrones shit. And I was like, why did I say like Game of Thrones shit? That just made me cringe. But I mean, it's like much more detailed than that. But one, I was kind of nervous talking about it because I am kind of shy about my creative stuff. And so I kind of blanked on what it was about and didn't know where to start because I have a lot of different details I've written about different parts of the story and I haven't tied it all in together yet. But also she was telling me she likes to write short stories and poems and she said, "Oh, I'm going to share some with you and you can show me some of yours." And I went, "I mean, I'll definitely read yours, but I don't know if I'm going to send you any of mine." And that kind of made me cringe a little too looking back because it was, showing being anxious and being shy. But it's just the idea of someone knowing everything about me because I'm paranoid. I'll think like, what if they use it against me someday? Which I shouldn't even care. I should be like, whatever. Like, if somebody share, like, who even cares in the first place? Oh, I wrote like a cringe song when I was 21. You know, my music. I used to make music and it sucked. If somebody heard my music and they talked about how it sucked, like that's not a big deal. I would tell somebody that. I just wouldn't want them to hear the music. But for whatever reason, I just like it just makes me uncomfortable thinking about sharing my whole life with someone. You know, what if they think it's weird the types of fucking shows I like, even though I like all the normie shows, or just the fact that I play Skyrim all the time, I always go back to the same games over and over, or what if they don't like the types of YouTube videos I watch, or what if they think that I don't know, like think I don't do enough or something. I just don't want my life to get nitpicked. And yeah, it's just I don't know if I would like it. But then again, maybe something would kind of turn on in me where like when I had that one itis at work a few years ago, I talked about her in that one video. I mean, I did feel way more social when I was around her, and I felt way more confident and excited about things and motivated. And maybe that would turn on for me, but also maybe that would just be the honeymoon phase, and maybe I would go back to my normal self after a while and realize I was unhappy being with someone because I just want to be alone, and now I've wasted their time and got them emotionally connected to me, and I'm just going to leave. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that to someone either, but all of these questions and all these worries are kind of irrelevant anyway because it's just, in a way, they're their own cope. It's like part of the cope of going like, oh, like maybe it can happen. Nothing's going to happen, you know? And I just hate getting my hopes up. I hate how my personality changes when I'm out with a girl and or just talking to a girl in general who I'm attracted to. Because it doesn't necessarily need to be like out to dinner with them. I hate how my personality changes and I put on this like try hard, confident persona. But I can't help it because it feels like if I don't push that confidence out of me, I'm gonna get really nervous and like crawl back into myself. So I need to like really push that confidence forward. Um, Even with the alcohol that I drank. But I don't know, it's just I don't like how my personality changes and I don't like getting my hopes up. I don't like going back to my dad's house feeling like a normie where he's like, "Oh, like how was it?" And I'm feeling like, "Oh, I just went on a date even though I didn't." And she totally wanted to hang out with me again even though she was probably just being polite. And even if she wasn't, she probably didn't even see it as anything other than hanging out with her step cousin. It's so fucking weird, I know, but I don't know. I'm retarded. I don't know what to say. I probably am really autistic, and I get in these minds these mental states where I'm all excited about something and I get narrow minded about it. and I'm not thinking about it in context. Like there's nothing even there to think about. But in my autistic brain, I get back to my dad's house and I'm all excited and he's like talking me up and I'm like, yeah, maybe I am a normie. Look, like I never had a good relationship with my father and now I have a pretty good one. So, and I'm down here and I'm getting to know like other family members. Like maybe I'll have a normal family life now. Like maybe maybe I'll, get a girlfriend now. Maybe I'll get some friends cuz she also invited me to stay at her place. Like she still lives with her parents and meet her friends and go to bars and stuff. And I'm like, maybe things are going to be normal now. Maybe I finally ascended. Maybe it was just my attitude. Maybe it was just my personality. And I've had this same exact thought before. I moved in with this will be a story at some point, but I moved in with these three girls one time and into their apartment. I didn't know any of them. I knew the one from work sort of. She was just nice enough to let me move into her place because my apartment at the time, at least I thought, had a toxic mold infestation based on an air sample test that I had gotten done because I thought there might be mold, and I was really like my OCD was really bad about that at the time. So I paid for a test to get done of my air in my apartment, and I thought there was a toxic mold infestation because of what the test said. And so I was telling people at work, and then I was talking to her about it, and she was like, well, I have a spare bedroom you can stay in. And so I moved in with her and her two other roommates. And when I was there, they were all these like these three normie girls. And so I thought, oh shit, like this is it. Like I didn't think I was going to date any of them. Actually, the two were really unattractive, but I thought like, oh, like this is gonna be, normal. I'm gonna have like, cause they're inviting their friends over and I'm gonna be hanging out with them because I'm living with them and I'll get to know them better and we'll become friends. And then it all fell apart. So, and even with, friends from high school, same thing. We hung out all the time and then they never talked to me again. And, you know, at this one job I had, everyone got along. We all go and get dinner with each other, and then like I don't talk to any of them anymore. They don't talk to me anymore. And so I keep having the same thing happen over and over where I go, oh, maybe I've finally ascended and maybe things are finally looking up and maybe it was just a matter of my personality and now here's my moment. I can finally take advantage of this moment and, finally be a normal person, and then it all just comes crashing down. Then I get the selfie with me and the normie and I look like a fucking goblin next to this pretty face, and I go, yeah, that's it. Like that's why that depressed me so much, because I was just like, that's what it is. Like it can't get any clearer than that. And that's what it's always going to be. And I've been doing so well at getting accustomed to being alone and even starting to really enjoy it and hate any moment where I'm not alone, that it's like I can't decide whether I pursue this again and fail again, or if I double down and go, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done. I'm just, I'd be willing to see, like, if I'll see her around and I'll give it a shot. Like, I'll see if she wants to hang out again next time I go to New York. But it's like, do I really want to try? And even doing that, do I even want to give it a shot? Or do I want to really just say, I'm done? I'm done being disappointed all the time. I'm done trying and then being let down and feeling depressed and feeling like an idiot. Like, why did I try again? Am I really giving up or not? And it's like, I just don't, I can't decide yet. I feel like I felt like I decided before I went to dinner with her. I felt like I knew. I was like, I'm done. I'm not trying anymore. And then I have one good conversation with a girl who has completely no idea problem. I don't know. Maybe because like I said, it's not like I knew her my whole life. It's not like she's my actual fucking cousin and I'm blindsiding her on some like Sweet Home Alabama. It's just like she's a girl I met 2 years ago, and it's like, is she just thinking of it like that, or is she also aware on some level that it could be a different thing? I don't know, but I just I just don't know if I want to try anymore. And I thought I didn't before that, and then I had this conversation, and then I get all excited and in my own head, and I start daydreaming, and I go, oh no, like this is it. Like she actually, maybe like she does like me, or at least doesn't think I'm so bad, you know? And I get my hopes up again, and I'm just gonna end up getting let down. But even now, I know I probably shouldn't try, but I probably will. And I'll be disappointed again, and I'll tell myself again I'm really not gonna try, and then I'll probably end up meeting some other girl, and the same shit will just happen forever. But I don't know. I would like to get to a time where if it's not gonna work out, I really decide I'm done. Um, and I've been doing a lot better in a lot of ways with that recently. Like I said, I mean I don't know if I said it in this video, but I try to just kind of ignore women now. You know, not like completely where if they ask me for something, I won't respond, or like if they say hi if I'm working with them, say good morning to me, I won't say anything. But I just mean I don't want to. I just don't really like try anymore, and I don't even really check girls out. Like if I notice a girl's pretty, I'll just notice it, but I won't think about it after that. I'll usually just keep it moving because I just don't even want to entertain that thought anymore, you know. But and I was doing well with that, but then I get one glimmer of hope, and it's not even a real glimmer of hope because I mean I don't know. I can't tell when I'm coping and when I'm not usually until after, but I get one glimmer of what I think is hope, and then I fucking run with it, and then I end up disappointed again and going, why the fuck did I do that? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do here. This is probably just me being a fucking complete autist, and it's gonna be fucking obvious to all of you and obvious to me in a week where I'm gonna look back and go, really? Like I thought she clearly just got together with her step cousin, and when she was all excited saying she wanted to see me again, it was because of that, or it was just her being polite, and I don't fucking know. That's definitely what it is, but hope is a fucking curse, and it's a drug, and it's like a mind virus that just takes over your perception, and I'd like to either have it end up working out someday or just get rid of it, but it seems like I just keep going in this loop. Yeah. Anyway, that's probably better for this one.